let's see. When Hannah was 12 years old, she wanted to live with me. So then I had to go get legal again, and then I got shared custody, and then all of a sudden now I got primary of her. I've been through 9 attorneys. I've probably spent $1.3 million in court, back and forth with everything else. And then I got sole custody of Colin. Kate has a no contact with him. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that happened with him.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, July 26th. I hope you are having a wonderful day. We have to get to it right away because Kate Gosselin is still in her comments answering and responding about Colin. She said she was going to make a statement about her son Colin and not say anything further at this time. And then she keeps responding to comments. And the stuff she is saying in the comments about her son is horrible. And I'm like, how can a mom do this to their child? And then I'm like, well, it's Kate Gosselin. I'm starting to believe that Kate and Jim Bob Duggar and Cody Brown should all just go on an island and live together because all 3 of them are horrible parents that were all a part of TLC and none of them should have a platform, in my opinion. But I'm not going to deplatform any of them. So anyways, Kate makes this statement last week because Colin was on a show where his whole family story was featured on a Vice TV episode, and the episode basically goes into the entire story of the Gosselins, Kate plus 8, Jon and Kate plus 8, from the beginning until the end to where we are today. Kate Gosselin, since all of this has been going on, has never made a statement publicly about Colin. In fact, Jon Gosselin went public with these allegations back in 2019. This was after the court had lifted a gag order on their custody case. And at that point, once the gag was lifted, he was able to speak about what was going on with his son. He went to the Daily Mail and then he went on to Dr. Oz and he laid out the situation that occurred with Colin. He had said that Colin had been placed in this facility by Kate, that when he went to go get Colin, literally he had no diagnoses, no reason to be there, and so he had to fight to get Colin out. We also learned that he was able to get custody of Leah, and then Leah on this episode basically said that once she found out what her mom did to her brother, she had to go live with her dad because she just couldn't live with her mom knowing what she did to one of her siblings. Jon ends up getting custody of Colin and Hannah, and in this docuseries, Colin alleges that his mom placed him into this facility that was without a diagnosis, and he claims that he wanted to hide him and the secrets because he had reported her to mandated reporter teachers at school about what she was doing to him. And once she got wind of that, he said he was placed in this facility. Kate's recollection is, no, I had to go to the ER and Colin did something really bad. Yeah, okay. And Hannah doesn't have any recollection of that really bad thing happening because she said that none of her siblings knew the reason why Colin was sent away and they didn't know where he was and they weren't allowed to speak to him. And leading up to him being sent away, he wasn't allowed to be around anyone. She was separating him from sleeping in his bedroom. He wasn't eating with them. He wasn't playing with them. He couldn't go outside with them. It was her form of punishment. And Colin says it was because it was a byproduct of him not wanting to film and her wanting him to film. And anyways, long story short, Kate comes out, says, oh, no, he's lying. I'm backed into a corner. I have to say this. Mady says, my brother is a horrible person. He's using hate speech. You guys, I talked to one of Colin's friends. In fact, someone that was in his ROTC program. So last week, I reached out. One of his friends left a comment on Kate's page, and I then contacted them privately, and they let me know that in the entire time that they've known Colin, which is over 4 years, they've never known Colin to use any hate speech. He's never been any more, let's say, violent than the average, or hot-headed is what she would say, than any average teenage boy. She said that he is super empathetic, very accepting of all people. He is not racist at all, and that she said his story about his mom has never changed. Hannah's story about her mom has never changed, and that this friend says that Jon has been super active in helping Colin get better and go through everything. And she also said that Colin doesn't have any diagnoses at all. She said, Colin is in the Marines. I know he's in the Marines, and they would never let him in if he had any of these diagnoses that Kate claims he has. So the friend says Colin's super compassionate, very empathetic, he did well in school. He was on the honor roll. He played on athletic teams. Yes, he struggled a bit, but a lot of the struggling, she said, had to do with him getting bullied because of his fame. So when he first got to high school in his 9th grade year, some of the kids didn't like him because they knew he was a Gosselin kid. Go figure, right? So his notoriety was difficult. But by the sophomore year, she said that kids kind of left him alone at that point, and he sort of just flourished at that point. So friends are speaking up that know Colin, defending him. And then Jon has come out to defend Colin as well. So Jon Gosselin issued a statement calling Kate a callous liar. Kate posting cruel and false accusations regarding Colin seems to be just another way for her to justify her inexcusable, horrific past behavior towards him. True love for a child wouldn't include a mother attacking their son to the public. Colin had to be cleared by the Marines with a full background check, including mental, physical, and medical clearance through the U.S. Marine Corps. The government's full diagnosis clearly reflects the truth. Do not forget that a judge awarded sole legal and physical custody to Colin to his father. Kate never even showed up to court and lost full custody of her own son. Regarding these brand new false accusations, it seems clear that even today, after not seeing her son since the 6th grade, she is unable to control her ABUS-IVE words towards him. At this point, Colin is training to be a Marine in order to serve his country and is unable to respond to his mother's callous lies. Now, Kate claims that Colin had multiple psychiatric diagnoses. That was what her statement said, and that for the safety of herself and her children, she had to remove him from the home for her own well-being and for his well-being. So Jon basically calls her a lie, says that she's continuing to go after her son, even after losing custody of him, even after not seeing him since his 6th grade year. So the last time she saw Colin, he was 11 years old. He's 19 now. She hasn't seen him in 7 years. That's a very long time. So he hasn't seen his mom in 7 years, and she is still claiming to know what he is and what he's doing. And a day before Jon made a statement about Kate Gosselin, he actually went ahead and responded to claims that Mady Gosselin made, which said, it took courage for Colin to sit down and speak about his past. And the last thing I would have expected was more ABUSE to come his way from a sibling that hasn't seen or spoken to him since he was in 6th grade. No child should have to endure the years of psychological and physical pain Kate put Colin through, let alone the rejection from his own mother or the false storyline created to alienate Colin from his siblings. Colin has grown into a wonderful man despite her ABUSE. We love him and are both proud and excited to see him grow into a young U.S. Marine. So once Jon spoke about that, that's why Kate kind of responded with the stuff about Mady. But the bottom line here is that Jon says that what Kate is doing is basically trying to continue to inflict pain on Colin and to continue to spread a narrative that is false about him and alienate him from his siblings, which is true narcissistic personality disorder form. She's trying to inflict as much damage into a situation as possible. I asked Colin's friend about why Kate would say these things about him. And I said, do you think there's any remote possibility that any of this is true or that she's just making this up? And they said she frankly just believes that Kate is just lying, flat out lying, making stuff up to save her own ass. And that this has been sort of what Colin has gone through for years with his mother, with the fact that she just continues to make him the fall guy for all of the bad things that she has done. So Colin's at the boot camp, right? He can't even respond. He's got friends trying to defend him. His dad is defending him. And the funny thing here is that in Kate's statement, she tried to say that Hannah and Jon were being attacked by Colin, which Jon obviously refutes, and he calls all of these false allegations. The only thing Colin's had issues with, since I can tell, is a couple car accidents and some lawsuits related to car accidents. And I don't know a lot of teenage boys that don't have tickets and issues with accidents. Speeding is a huge issue for teenage boys. And that's why their insurance is so much higher. Really, there's nothing to match what she's saying. And he did go through a full evaluation, and he is absolutely at training camp, or he's absolutely at boot camp. So her claims are just falling flat, but it hasn't stopped her from doubling down on the things that she's saying. And she's been kind of in her comments on and off, and it's just been, I've never seen a mother act this way, and I'm just disturbing. And then it's like, well, maybe this is just more of who she is. Maybe this is just Kate is showing us who she is by the comments that she's leaving. But like, someone left a comment to her about how she had a child that threatened to kill his parents, and she was like, I know I'm not alone. It's so very terrifying. Thank you for your comment. Like, acting like her life was in jeopardy. Someone said, you're not even in his life. That's the saddest part of all of this. And she said, yes, I agree with you. It makes me sad every day, but safety, my safety and that of my other kids, has to take priority. So he's the unsafe person, but she's the one that was lost custody, had a no contact order out against her for what she did to Colin. And I think back in 2019, Jon said she had faced 50 to 60 different CPS investigations in the time that they had been divorced. He would get notified every so often of a new case against her. So, and every single time it would come back unfounded. She also clapped back at things and made it seem like the only people that could understand her point of view was if they had someone in their lives with mental health issues. And she said, it's becoming very clear that the only people who can relate are those that have family members with mental illness. I've kept quiet for a long time. Tired of Colin and Jon controlling what has become my narrative, and it's all false. Time to take back my own story. So she's speaking out because she's backed into a corner, but she's really speaking out because she doesn't like the narrative that's being portrayed. And she's claiming all of these allegations are false. She also says that mental illness is not miraculously healed, and some kids need a facility, and I did the best in our situation. So she's trying to justify that she stuck him there for years and didn't see him. She claims in the comments as well that he lied, that he didn't go to visit her, that she didn't go to visit him. Someone said this to her, that you posted this just proves Colin is right. Your desire to be right and control things rules your mind. I genuinely hope you get some help. And she responded, nothing to do with being right or controlling things, everything to do with telling the truth. So in her eyes, her truth is the only truth, and Colin's experience is not his truth, because she claims that he is he's like delusional. He doesn't understand the truth. He has a distorted perception of reality, which I would say, if you look at the history of Kate, she's probably projecting there, because she seems to have a distorted sense of reality. She also called Colin an offender and attacker. This one actually makes me feel ill for him. And she said, but you're speaking as you're an expert in mental illness, stating what you'd do or not do, when in fact you don't have a child with mental illness. So I ask you, would you not do anything to protect your child or children from an attacker, even if the offender was someone in your own home, and if the offender was one of your 4 children, and you turn your head and allow it to continue? I seriously doubt it. Okay, so she's calling him an offender, which is, again, horrible. And if your child truly has mental illnesses, and this is how you're speaking about him, and if you did abandon him, it doesn't help your case. It just shows that you gave up on a child that needed help and intervention. Either way, she doesn't look good. She doesn't look good for attacking her son. She doesn't look good because she's clearly lying. And she doesn't look good because she's proving that if someone has a mental illness and she doesn't want to deal with it, she'll just get rid of them and put them in a facility. Some of you guys have asked, why was Colin placed in the facility for so long? And how did he get into this facility if, for instance, they didn't have a proper diagnosis? Well, here's the thing. The facility that Colin was actually placed in was actually under criminal investigation by the Department of Justice back in 2015. And it was due to how they were admitting patients and fraud. And they ended up having to settle with the government for $117 million for fraudulently holding people, billing Medicaid, and then keeping people there that didn't need to be there and billing as though they had issues that they didn't have. Parents had been using these facilities as sort of an area for troubled teens. And this was big news in the local press because it said firm under federal probe owns 4 of the 5 most profitable Pennsylvania mental hospitals. They're under Universal Health Services, which owns Fairmont Behavioral Health, was under investigation. And there was a huge judgment through the Department of Justice. And it says alleged violations involved medically unnecessary inpatient behavioral services. So the Department of Justice releases a statement in 2020 saying that they have come to an agreement, and it says the government alleged that between January of 2006 and December 2018, UHS facilities admitted as patients federal healthcare beneficiaries who were not eligible for inpatient or residential treatment because their conditions did not require that level of care. The government further alleged that the UHS facilities billed for services not rendered, billed for improper and excessive lengths of stay, failed to provide adequate staffing, training, or supervision, and improperly used physical and chemical restraints and seclusion. In addition, UHS facilities allegedly failed to develop and or update individual assessments and treatment plans for patients, failed to provide adequate discharge planning, and failed to provide required individual and group therapy services in accordance with federal and state regulations. And they had to pay $117 million. So that's how he was there for so long. So if any of you are questioning, did a facility really keep him there without a diagnosis? Yes, this organization was under criminal investigation, and they ended up having to pay the federal government for literally doing exactly what happened to Colin. And it was in the same time period that Colin was there, because Colin was placed there in 2016. He didn't get out until 2018. And the Department of Justice said that they were doing this between 2006 and 2018. It happened when Colin was there. They were admitting patients that were not needing any care, didn't have any diagnosis, and they were just doing it to bilk insurance and Medicaid. Anyways, Colin's story has never changed. Kate is acting ridiculous in her comments, and it just makes her look bad. Nothing she says or does is going to help the situation. Fans are turning on her, and she continues to respond to comments, even 5 days later after saying that she wasn't done, that she had nothing more to say. What are your thoughts about Kate's latest antics, Jon's response, and this information about the facility? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.